In the previous video, I showed you how to take advantage of ASP.NET MVC's mobile features to present your website's content differently to mobile browsers. In this video, I'll show you how to use the ASP.NET MVC mobile application template to create a brand new website that exists only to target mobile website users. To begin, right-click on the website's solution and click Add New Project. Then select the ASP.NET MVC4 Web Application project. Name the application whatever you like. I'll be using the name Mobile Website. Then click OK. Instead of the Internet template that we chose at the beginning of the course, we'll now be choosing the Mobile Application template to have Visual Studio generate a mobile website for us. Once again, hit OK and wait for your new project to be created. As soon as it's created, go ahead and select the project and execute the site in our browser that's pretending to be an iPhone and see how your new mobile site looks. Pretty different from the default Internet application template, huh? That's because this template uses jQuery Mobile, a client-side UI framework that is specifically targeted to mobile browsers. Likewise, the markup that Visual Studio generates for this template takes advantage of the jQuery Mobile framework as well. For instance, open up the site's default layout in the Shared folder and take a look. There are several things to notice here. First off, in addition to the default site theme, it's using a style sheet bundle named Mobile CSS, a reference to the jQuery Mobile default styles on line 8. It's also got a reference to the jQuery Mobile JavaScript library down on line 26. The other thing that's worth noticing is all of the data attributes scattered around the various HTML tags. The jQuery Mobile framework uses these attributes as hints as to how these elements should be displayed and even what behaviors they should be given. Now, open the site's home page, the index view in the Home folder. Once again, it's just a normal Razor view, only some of its elements are marked up with the data attributes for jQuery Mobile to use. Now that we've got our mobile-only website created, what do we do with it? We wanted this site to be completely separate from the original site, but that doesn't mean that we have to recreate everything from scratch, does it? Surely there are some things we can share. Let's start by making a new project that will contain the artifacts that the two sites have in common. Right-click on the solution and select Add New Project. Then select the Class Library project type and call this project Common. We can delete this class that Visual Studio generates for us called Class 1. We're not going to be using it. Then, have both of our websites reference this new project. Now that we've got our shared project, what can we put in it? Well, not the views. Mobile views are the main reason we created this new project in the first place. But what about controllers? We could theoretically share controllers since they are just classes that ASP.NET MVC looks for in any assemblies it finds. Though this might work from a technical standpoint, let's hold off on doing that for now. That leaves models. The models in our Entity Framework database context are excellent candidates for sharing between the two projects. So go ahead, cut the models we've created from the original website project and paste them right into this common project. Notice that I've left the account models file behind. Not only does this file include several models that are just being used by the account controller, they also have a lot of assembly references that I'd rather not resolve at this point. Speaking of assembly references, we do need to add one reference, and that is to the Entity Framework library that our database context depends on. To do this, right-click on the solution and select Manage NuGet Packages for Solution. Then, find the Entity Framework package in the list, click Manage, and then check the box next to the Common project to add the reference. Then, click OK. Now, just to be sure, try to compile the solution just to make sure everything builds. Before we move on, there is one last thing that we'll need to share, the database. Since we are using SQL Express Local DB, our database consists of several files in our website's App Data folder. In order to share these databases between the two sites, they will need to live in a location where both sites can access them. To make this easier, I'm going to copy the existing database files and put them in a central folder on my computer. I'll be using the C temp folder, but this folder can really be any folder that both websites have access to. Now that we've moved these files, we'll need to update the site's connection string to point to the new location. To do this, open up the web.config file and find the connection string section. Then replace the references to data directory with the full path of our new folder. When we're done with these changes, we'll need to make the same changes to our mobile website's configuration. So copy these connection strings, open up the mobile website's web.config file, and paste them into the connection string section. This will allow both websites to reference the same database. It's very important to note that sharing local DB files like this is not recommended, and I'm merely doing it for the purposes of this demo. The real way to share a database between two websites is for them to both interact with the same database on a full-fledged, centralized database server. Unfortunately, showing how to configure that setup is outside of the scope of this course. So what I'm showing here is simply faking that database server for the sake of developing on our local computer. Once we've got everything shared, we can begin using our common model to build out our mobile website. First, let's add an auctions controller to the mobile website, just like we did in the original site. This time, however, we're going to choose the MVC controller with read-write actions and views using Entity Framework option. Choose the auction model from the Model class dropdown. Then choose the Auctions Data Context from the Data Context class dropdown. Finally, click Add and watch what happens. When the flurry of activity has died down, take a look at what Visual Studio has created for you. Open up the Auctions controller to find the index and details and create methods, just like we manually added to our other Auctions controller. But also look at the delete and the edit actions that have been created as well. Not only that, Visual Studio has generated views for all of these actions too. Sadly, Visual Studio is not yet smart enough to realize that it should have generated jQuery mobile views, but at least we've got something to start with. Try to run the site and navigate to the Auctions controller. Then, click the Create button and use the form to create a new auction using our mobile view. Besides the fact that the category field is not a dropdown, and that pesky current price field is back, all of our validation logic and form behavior we initially defined gets carried over because we defined it using data annotations on the model that we're sharing. When you're ready, save the auction and then view it in the list. Actually, let's take a moment to clean up that auction list so that it displays better for mobile browsers. I'm simply going to open the index view on the auctions folder and replace it with this pre-formatted HTML. Then I'll refresh the page so we can see what I've done. I've chopped down the number of columns and added a little bit of jQuery mobile styling and attributes. That's much better. Before we wrap up the video, I want to take a moment to remind you of something. Other than the fact that it uses jQuery mobile styling and behavior, this site is still just a regular ASP.NET MVC website. That means everything I've shown you in the course is still valid and relevant, particularly the mobile features that I showed in the last video, and especially the display modes feature that enables you to target specific devices. So feel free to go ahead and make iPhone and iPad specific views on your mobile websites as well. In this video, I showed you how to build a mobile website from scratch using the ASP.NET MVC mobile application template, and how to reuse some of the artifacts from the desktop-focused website that we've built through the course. Along the way, I also demonstrated how ASP.NET MVC can generate controller logic and views from your Entity Framework data context, not to mention a short tour around the jQuery mobile UI framework. Regrettably, going into more detail about the jQuery mobile framework is out of the scope of this course. For more information on jQuery mobile, check out the jQuery mobile web applications course here on the lynda.com online training library.